Back for another episode. It's been a long minute. It's been a long minute. Taste to Consider podcast. This is episode 111. 111. Yes. But we back for another episode. Let me start the episode properly. Introduce the show. Let's go. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and we are back. Back for another episode. Yes, episode 111. 111, 111. Yes, we are back for another episode. It's good to be back. It's been a good minute. It's been a long time since I recorded a podcast. I don't even want to look and see how long it's been. I haven't even checked to see how long it's been. But we back for another episode. But you know what I'm saying? I still been putting out content. Shout out to all the new subscribers to the YouTube page. Taste to Consider Network. I've been working. I've been doing shows, but I just haven't been doing podcasts. Actually, I did record part two of Back Emoting. That was the last episode I recorded. Back Emoting part one. Part two, I recorded it, but I just wasn't feeling it. I recorded it actually like a couple of times. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the flow of it. But I still been putting out shows, taste reviews, drink edition. It's plenty of episodes out on YouTube right now you can catch, as well as the new series on YouTube, as well as, I've been posting it on my other platforms as well. Tasteful Words. I just released two episodes, one episode for Tasteful Words, episode 7, and an episode for Taste Reviews Drink Edition, episode 13 on YouTube. So make sure you check those out. Make sure you the Tasteful Words that's on my other platforms as well, Instagram, Facebook, and I actually uploaded it on TikTok as well. And that just a great segue right now into the show on TikTok. But yeah, I just been focusing on I've been doing a lot of writing lately. Of course, for I've been doing a lot of poetry writing, as well as I've been working on my book. Honestly, I've been working on my book. I've been writing, and it's just a lot to do by myself. So I ain't gonna lie, it's been kind of overwhelming to do all this stuff by myself. And I just one of the things like I've noticed, like I've taken breaks before with the podcast, but it's just hard to get back into the podcast because especially when I take longer breaks. A week off, you know what I'm saying? That's easy, to get back into it, even though it's kind of, what I'm saying, different, but taking multiple weeks and months off from the podcast, yeah, it's hard to get back into it because it's just so much stuff to do by myself. I was talking to my barber Thursday, and he was just, without me even talking to him about, all the stuff that I had going on with the show, the network, and all the other different shows. He was just saying, he's like, damn, you doing all that stuff by yourself. It gotta be a lot, and it is a lot. It may be. Some people may think it's simple just to set up a camera, phone, some lights, and microphone, get behind it or whatever. But it's a lot of work, especially with the podcast, because I gotta put topics together. And I'm the type of person, like, I guess I'm a perfectionist. But I just like things to be structured properly. And with the podcast, I like the topics to flow with each other. And it's just a lot, you know what I'm saying? Cause I got a full-time job. I'm in the gym full-time. And, trying to do 3 shows full time every week, or at least with excuse me, burp number 1. Since I started doing the Tasteful Words, excuse me, burp number 2. Damn, burp number 3. This is about to be a great show. With the Tasteful Words, the poetry series, I've been doing those every week. with the taste reviews drink edition. I've been doing those every other week. At least that's how I try to do it. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I'll go back to back, but um, you know, shit, buying bottles every week, that's costly. So, I try to separate that to every other week. But yeah, just trying to put the topics together, and cuz I haven't really been on social media like that for a while, and that's where I get a lot of my content from, social media. And I don't like just to be spending all my time on social media scrolling and stuff like that. So that has been kind of a hindrance to, what I'm saying, keeping the podcast going on a weekly basis, cuz I just don't be bothered a lot of times just to get on social media or whatever. But you know what I'm saying, we here, we back for another episode. Um yeah, y'all not gonna get part two of back emoting. Yeah, it just wasn't flowing right. I just wasn't feeling it. I recorded it like a couple of times, like I said, and I just wasn't feeling it. So I just had to let it go. So you got that part one, and that's just it. I'll leave that there, and we got a new episode right now, and make sure you check out all the episodes on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't hit the notification buttons, make sure you hit the notification buttons so you know every time a new show is up. And make sure you like each and every episode that you watch. It costs you nothing, and it gets the episodes out there to more people who aren't familiar with my platform, with my shows. So, you know what I'm saying? If you're not going to donate to the show, if you're not going to contribute to the show in any way that is outside of you giving up your money or whatever, just hit the like button. Just hit the like button. That's all I ask. I'm not begging you, because I mean it is what it is, but hitting the like button costs you nothing. So we back for another episode, Taste to Consider podcast. And like I said, um, TikTok, we segueing into that. And if you haven't been paying attention on social media or the news, you know that the United States government is trying to ban TikTok. And I find that funny because, the only reason they trying to do that is because they trying to control the narrative. Um, TikTok is run by a Chinese. Um, the person who is the CEO of TikTok is Chinese, and pretty much, what I'm saying, the United States government has no control over TikTok. The things that's posted on it, the narratives that's pushed throughout it. There's a lot of good information on TikTok, and there's a lot of bad information on TikTok. But you know what I'm saying, that's you gonna get that regardless. But I feel like, what I'm saying, the United States government is trying to control TikTok, and they want to ban it because they can't control the narratives that's coming out of what's going on with TikTok. And we've had countless examples, and since 2020, when all the stuff was going on, the pandemic and all that other good stuff. I ain't gonna say good stuff, but um, where a lot of revelations, facts, and conspiracy theories are proven to be right, and TikTok is a threat to the narrative that the United States want to push out there to the citizens, you know what I'm saying, and even the world. And TikTok is a threat to the United States government. So, that is one thing that is a problem for them. It's about censorship and power, So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this stuff pans out. Hopefully, the people who running TikTok staying 10 toes down, and they can fight this and they can get through this. But ultimately, it's going to come down to the actual people who use TikTok, what's going to happen with it. So we'll see. We'll see. And just speaking about the United States government and politics and all that other good stuff. So we got a familiar a familiar battle that's about to come up in November between Trump and Biden. Trump got the nomination. You know what I'm saying? He's actually going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. And we got Biden or whatever. So it's going to be a familiar battle going on. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that stuff pans out, because it's a lot of just speaking from my point of view, and Biden is going to have a rough time right now with the black community and the promises he made and the promises that I knew he wasn't going to make. But, a lot of people, a lot of black Americans are having, buyer's remorse or voter's remorse right now on, his administration, him and Kamala, and what they didn't do and what they did for other people and didn't do for us, which has been the norm, honestly. But, as Malcolm X always said, and how I always bring up on this podcast, black Americans, we are political chumps. We get so caught up into, narratives that are pushed to us and what we don't like, as opposed to actually getting down to the nitty gritty of information and facts and what both parties are doing for us and what they aren't doing for us, that we just look at it really in a superficial manner, and it's like a sports contest to us, and we just gonna pick who we like at the moment or who we angry with or whatever. But both candidates, are similar in my point of view. But I ain't gonna go all deep into that, because I know some people get all mad and all that other stuff. But I'll save it for the as the time gets closer around the election, to bring up more stuff, and we'll see how it goes. So that was pretty much the Blackity Black Woke segment. I kept that pretty light for y'all, since we coming back for a new episode. Let me take a sip real quick. So, this episode is going to be pretty detailed with mental health stuff, relationship stuff, and I just went through a little politics or whatever. For all the first time listeners out there, I try to keep it to all the things that I'm into, all the things that, are going on in the world. I try to give you a taste of each and everything. So you just had your Blackity Black Woke segment, your politics and all that other good stuff. And now we going to move on from that. So I got a clip, you know what I'm saying? I stay with the clips. I got a clip because recently I watched the Love is Blind new season that was on Netflix. I don't know how the hell, I got caught up. I got caught up into that joint. This is like the first season I ever watched. It was recommended to me. So I started, I watched one episode, and then after that, I was kind of hooked after that. I needed to know what the hell was going on. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I get caught up into stuff, and I just got to go down a rabbit hole and finish it. So I had to finish this season 6 of Love is Blind. But the reason why I'm bringing all this stuff up is because, I think is relevant to all of the things that I usually talk about on the podcast, mental health stuff, relationship stuff. Um, and it was one particular couple on the season of Love Is Blind that caused like a lot of uh conversation on social media. But I'm gonna play this clip first, and then we're gonna get into all of that. So here we go, right here.
Love Is Blind Season 6 is the exact epitome of people thinking they're ready for a relationship and realizing they're fucking not. This season is a goddamn hot mess, and I am so fucking here for it. For fucking years, I thought, I'm ready for a relationship. I just can't meet somebody that's right for me. When the reality was, I didn't have the fucking tools or the bandwidth to be able to handle a relationship, because what a relationship requires is honesty, vulnerability, transparency, active fucking listening, not getting defensive, taking accountability. And this season of Love Is Blind has shown us that so many people that are in those pods are highly ill-equipped to actually handle real life situations. The pods also show us what texting versus the real life is like. Even though they didn't text, but you know what my point is. When you are in a controlled environment, like your phone, when you're just texting every day and you're FaceTiming and you're just living in this fantasy, you don't actually fucking know what this person is like. Do you know how they handle triggers? Do you know what dysregulation looks like for them? How do they handle people out in public when they get annoyed? What medications are they allergic to? We only see one little bit of information, and Love Is Blind is a perfect fucking example that some of these people are so ill-equipped. I think they're all lovely, but Jess drove me fucking insane. Taking zero accountability. You wasted my time. You made me feel this. You. Not once saying, hey, here's my part in this. Or Chelsea saying, you never say I love you, when the guy literally said I love you every other fucking sentence, because her anxiety is so high. She is so deeply insecure that she just kept thinking, I just need to find the right person. It's not about finding the right fucking person. It's about you saving yourself and stop waiting for other people to do so.
Yeah, so that Love Is Blind, that show was wild. Like, I didn't really know what the hell the show was about going into watching it. So let me just give a little quick synopsis from my point of view of what I thought this show was about from watching it. So initially, like I said, I didn't know what the hell the show was about. So it started off with the women and the men in pods, right? So they couldn't see each other, and they just had to go off a conversation. Basically, like from this video, it's basically like texting a person. Granted, you know what I'm saying, when you text a person in real life, in reality, you pretty much know who they are, as far as the physical sense, right? Even if you meet them on a dating app, as long as they not catfishing you. But on Love Is Blind, the show, you don't know what the person looks like. So you just going off of their conversation, right? So literally, you basically getting their representative. And you know what I'm saying? It's just talk or whatever. And to go beyond the pod portion of the show, which I didn't know, you had to propose to the person. And you had to propose to the person. Y'all basically had to click in the pod section and be like, so I want to be with you. I want to marry you. How do you feel about that? So I'm speaking from a guy's point of view in the pod, right? So if I say to this woman across from me in this pod where I can't see her or whatever, I'll be like, okay, I'm digging you, you know what I'm saying? The conversation is good, we vibing or whatever. You know, I want to be with you. I want to marry you. How you feel about that? So if she says yes, then that's when y'all actually get to see each other. But y'all go through a period of talking, right? And it's just, I get to talk to multiple women, and the girl that I'm vibing with that I want to pick, she's talking to multiple men. So if she's vibing with me and she accepts my proposal and all that other stuff, then that's when I finally see her. So when you finally see her, you propose to her. After you propose to her, then y'all go on a vacation. And y'all spend a couple of days together, you know what I'm saying, in the same room, all that good stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's literally a vacation, right? And after that vacation, if y'all still feeling each other, then y'all go and move in with each other. So y'all live a couple of days with each other or whatever. And then if that goes well, then the wedding comes. And then when the wedding comes, then if you want to still go through it, y'all get married, right? But this show was wild as hell to watch because it really shows a multitude of things. Like it shows how desperate people are. It shows how insecure people are. It shows how people lack self-awareness. It shows how people lack understanding. It shows a multitude of things. Like just based off of the clip or whatever that I just played, it's a lot of women out there that is severely insecure. It's a lot of dudes that have uh, a not so knowledgeable outlook on what it is to be a man or how to be in a relationship, vice versa. It's like vice versa on both ends on all of these elements of being in a actual relationship or partnership. Y'all know how I feel about those two words. So it was interesting to see how in that short period of time, you know what I'm saying, like just based off of the show, it was only probably like a 2-week period of time from the moment that they started at the pods to the moment that they walked to the altar, right? And every couple on there doesn't make it to the altar, right? So I think on season 6, I think maybe 4 couples made it past the pod. Maybe 4 or 5 couples made it past the pod. But it was 2 couples in particular that really, you know what I'm saying, made the show. But one couple, which was a black dude and a black woman, really caused a big stir and a lot of conversation this season. So the black dude, he had a lot of like reservations about, you know what I'm saying, being in a marriage because of how he saw his parents' marriage go. His parents were married, I believe, around 25 or 27 years, but his father cheated majority of the time that his parents were married. And one of the things that came out during that time was that his father used to take him when he was cheating. When his father was cheating, he would take his son to those times, you know what I'm saying, those dates or those links, whatever you want to call it, right? So and the black dude, his name was Clay. And the girl that he ended up with on the show, her name was AD. And they made it all the way to the wedding portion, right, to the altar. And one of the things that was interesting during their time together was the dude Clay. He kept bringing up all the time about how he wasn't, you know, he had fears and reservations about being in a marriage because he was afraid he was going to cheat. And that made sense because after, you know what I'm saying, he told his story and how he told his experiences with his dad and how his dad used to take him along with him when he would go cheat on his mom, right? And the girl AD, she was just so pressed. She was just so she just had this conviction. She just wanted to be married so bad. You know what I'm saying? She didn't, I want to say, like, this is my point of view. This is my point of view. I'm not saying this is how, you know what I'm saying, everybody looked at it, because I've seen commentary from the show and everybody doesn't look at it the same way that I look at it. But the girl AD, you know what I'm saying, she definitely was patient with Clay. she worked with him, and you know what I'm saying, she encouraged him and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? It definitely looked good on the outside looking in. But at the same time, when you take those rose colored glasses off, you definitely saw, you know, red flags on both ends, you know what I'm saying, of that relationship or partnership or whatever. And just from my point of view, I feel like this show is just retarded. Well, I ain't gonna say it. That's a wrong word to use. I feel like this show is setting you up for failure from the get go, because I just don't believe in, you know what I'm saying, that short period of time and you being able to make that type of decision, especially from a man point of view and knowing how men date and how men look at things when it comes to dating and stuff. So it definitely they ended up making it to the altar, right? So when they got to the altar, to the wedding and stuff like that, Clay is the guy. He ended up saying that he didn't want to get married. He ended up saying that he didn't feel comfortable getting married. He didn't feel like that he was ready to get married, or he didn't feel like he would have been capable of being a good husband. And I understood that, you know what I'm saying, from a man's point of view. I understood a lot of things from his point of view. And I understood AD from certain perspectives. Um, but I also understood that this is a show. This is a show. This is entertainment. And I also felt as though that, you know what I'm saying, Clay was saying from the get-go that he wasn't ready for marriage. And I feel like, you know what I'm saying, because this is a show, this is entertainment and stuff, that the show pushed him to go along to the end portion of the show, to get to the wedding, to the altar and stuff, so they can excuse me, burp number 4 and 5. Burp number 6. I feel like the show pushed him to go along, you know what I'm saying, for entertainment purposes, because on this particular episode, this particular season, only one couple made it to the altar and got married. And I feel like they had to, you know what I'm saying, make it entertaining, make it controversial and stuff like that. So I took a lot of the stuff on the show with a grain of salt. But I thought it was funny how invested so many people were on social media, Twitter/X, Instagram, and all, Facebook, all that other stuff, and really looking at it like this stuff is 100% reality. And the way I look at reality TV is that it's not 100% reality. It's just not. But one of the things that I found interesting with Clay and AD's relationship, or portrayal on that show, was when Clay and AD got to the altar, and Clay, he decided that he didn't want to get married. And then finally, and they showed his parents, his mom and his dad, interacting with each other. And they showed his parents having a conversation about his father's past indiscretions. And one of the interesting things about that was the mother, she knew that the husband cheated during their marriage, but she did not know that the husband was taking Clay, her son, their son, to some of those link ups. So they had a conversation during the show, and the mother, Clay's mother, told the father that he needs to have a conversation with Clay and really, you know what I'm saying, explain himself on his reasoning, his rationality, and all that other good stuff, his perception and all that good stuff on why he did the things that he did. And I definitely agree with that. For somebody who has been, because I identified with Clay on a couple of levels when it came to having fears around marriage and stuff, based off of how you saw your parents' marriage go, the things that they didn't do, and how that affected your relationships as you know what I'm saying, got older and was out in the world and stuff like that. So I definitely identify with Clay on a couple of levels, not all levels, but a couple of levels. And one of the ways that I identify with Clay was, like I already mentioned just a couple of seconds ago, was, you know what I'm saying, your parents' marriage and relationship, partnership, or whatever, affecting your relationships or partnerships while you are an adult, and your fears and reservations and insecurities around that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Basically, just not wanting to go through the same things that you saw your parents going through or whatever. So that was an eye opener for me as well. But season 6 of Love Is Blind was a funny, was an interesting. It was a good watch every now and then. I'm not gonna say it was totally good. And I'm saying it's not a good watch because it just wasn't. I don't know. I just wasn't into it all the time or whatever. But I started it, and you know what I'm saying. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta finish it. Go down the rabbit hole, and you know what I'm saying, just complete the series or whatever. But it definitely was interesting. But it definitely shows how there's a lot of people out here that shouldn't be focusing solely on dating or being in a relationship or partnership. They need to be, you know what I'm saying, putting that focus on themselves and being intentional about working on themselves and healing themselves and going to therapy and working on their insecurities and all that stuff. Cause it was wild. It definitely was wild. Oh man. But one of the things that I looked at about the Love Is Blind series, that it, from the initial start of the series, when they just sitting in the pods and stuff like that, when it's not, when you can't see who you're speaking to, it caters more to women. I feel as though that, you know what I'm saying, it caters more to women. Because you know, men, um we're we start out from the physical point of view. So from a man's point of view, if you can't see who you're speaking with, you know what I'm saying, it really is just a, you're gambling at that point. And one of the things that I feel like um women don't understand, and is that men are different than women. Is, you know what I'm saying? It's cool to, surface level wise, you know what I'm saying, they understand it, but I think from a deeper point of view, they don't understand it. I was having a conversation a couple of days ago about this, and how, like, you know, men, we approach relationships, partnerships, or getting to know somebody differently than women do. You know what I'm saying? We start out from the physical point of view. Women start out from the emotional point of view. And for us men, um, dating is like a science experiment. Like if you, um, I'm old enough to remember science fairs and doing science experiments and stuff like that. I don't even know if they still do that shit today. But from a man's point of view, dating is like a science experiment to us. We start out with a science experiment. You start out with a hypothesis. And for men in the dating realm, the hypothesis is the physical attraction. We look at a woman and we're physically attracted to her, so we we take the hypotheses from that physical attraction. We look at the woman, we be like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm a physically attracted her to her. I want to see, you know what I'm saying, what she's about. I want to get to know her. I want to see, you know what I'm saying, what can come from this. And then we start the experiment. The science experiment starts after the hypotheses, the physical attraction. So, men, we basically start from that hypothesis, that physical attraction. Then we go from there. We got to get to know her. We take her out on dates. We spend time with her. We have conversations with her. We, during that period, of the getting to know her, the courting, whatever you want to call it. That's the science experiment. And then once we get our results, no, no matter what the timeline is, you know what I'm saying? We can start out physically attracted to her, and a week could go by and we not feeling her no more. The science experiment is done. We got our results. We not compatible with her or whatever, so we move along. But if things go a little well, you know what I'm saying? We doing our science experiment. We vibing a little bit. The dates are going well. The conversations are going well. So then you start having different aspects throughout the dating, you know what I'm saying, realm. You know what I'm saying? You start doing more dates. You might take a trip together. You might, you know what I'm saying, hang out with her friends or bring her around your friends, your family, her family, and you keep on with the experiment. And you see where the results end at. So that's how men date. You know what I'm saying? Um, the way women date is totally different. Women, you know what I'm saying, they go based off of emotions. They go based off of emotions. If the dude is making her feel good, they, you know what I'm saying, infatuated and all that other good stuff, they usually gloss over or forget about, you know what I'm saying, or they don't pay attention too much to the red flags or whatever, you know. But men, since we date based off of facts and logic, we are calculating every experience that we have with this woman and seeing how the results come out in a 100% factor. You know what I'm saying? We don't go off of feelings. You know what I'm saying? When we date, you know what I'm saying? We will take a moment and we'll apply it to the results. Take another moment, good or bad, apply it to the results. Good or bad, another moment, good or bad, good or bad. And that's how men date, you know. And that's why I feel like that show Love Is Blind is setting people up for failure, because if you can't get past that initial part where the pods are, where you can't see each other, and that's going to be a struggle for a lot of men, then there's not going to be a lot of things that's going to happen from that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to check it out, check it out. New season of Love Is Blind. It, you know what I'm saying, it is entertaining. Every now and then, like, this is just from my point of view. Y'all know I get y'all TV shows and movie reviews or whatever, and yeah, so it's worth watching. Just watch a couple of episodes and see if you can get into it, you know. But it is definitely a perfect example of what's going on with all that back and forth shit on social media with men and women. Really is a perfect example. But another thing that's going on social media in the quote unquote, I'm I'm saying quote unquote celebrity world because these ain't really celebrities. These probably the lowest celebrities you can have. But Drea Michelle, she's like a Instagram model. She been on a couple of reality TV shows, and she recently announced her pregnancy with Jalen Green. He's a basketball player. She's 40 years old. He's what, 22? He's the same age as her oldest son, right? And it was interesting to see a lot of the commentary on social media, um, how people felt about it. You know what I'm saying? And it just shows you that it's a lot of people out here that just got some crazy ass views, and they really don't morals moral standards, all that good stuff is gone these days. Um, One of the things that was irritating me a lot about people's comments on this situation was men do it all the time and all that other stuff. And there's always this measuring or this competition that goes on when it comes to situations with men and women. You know what I'm saying? And that would totally cancel out any type of standards or morals all the time. And I'm a black man, and you particularly see it a lot with black men and black women, where this measuring goes on or this competition of who does what and and all that other stuff. And this shit is exhausting, and it makes no sense, and it shows you the lack of maturity that we have when it comes to these topics or these situations. Period. Like I'm not going to speak long on this situation, but I just think is weird, and that you know what I'm saying, we always want to measure who is doing what, when, how, and all that other stuff or whatever. What's wrong is it should be what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. And when it comes to this situation, this shit is foul. This shit is disgusting in my point of view. You already got a 21, 22-year-old son, and you about to have a baby by a 22, 20-year-old dude. Like, and you 40 years old. Come on now. That's disgusting. Like, and it's disgusting if a dude does it as well. But we always look at it like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And that just ain't the case, man. And it's just like a lot of these women who are Instagram models or groupies or whatever you want to call them, they just have no type of morals. They have no type of standards, and they just sell themselves. They put a price on themselves, and they're fine with it. And I understand that, you know what I'm saying, in society, um, when you look at it from a patriarchy, this is what men been doing for a while. But it hasn't been a black man thing. It's always been a white man thing. Because white men have usually been in the position of power and financial status to do these things. But we always try to compare ourselves to white men, white women, and all this other stuff. And it's just not the same thing. It just really isn't. And maybe there are outliers or small examples where, yeah, there's some black men who have power and money who do these things, but that's not a collective thing, or it's not a generalization. But we try to make it that way, and it's unfortunate that is like that. But you know, a lot of times when in those situations, like I came across this post that made sense to me in reference to you know that topic, this topic that I'm talking about now, and I'm gonna read it. It says, "quote unquote" boyfriend culture does way more harm, way more detrimental, and hurts way more people than quote unquote hookup culture. Boyfriend culture is women getting into relationships with men they don't want to build with, have children or a family with. They only get with these guys for emotional support or financial gain, basically as a utility. Typically seen in younger women who feel they have the time to waste. Many guys are not aware of this as they go into a situation thinking forever, not realizing they are just a right now thing. And it can go both ways. You know, I don't agree totally with this quote, but it can go both ways. And I feel like the boyfriend culture and even girlfriend culture, when it comes from both sides, where you have an older gentleman or an older woman or a younger woman, you know what I'm saying, just being in a relationship to get some type of, what I call it is attentionship. Attentionships, they're not really connecting on a deeper level. Everything is surface level. It's only about, what I'm saying, status or, material gain or materialism and stuff like that. So it's like, what type of relationship are you in? And I feel like that's going on a lot when it comes to the culture, particularly when you see it from a quote unquote celebrity culture, however, whatever level it's at. If it's the lower level of celebrities or the high end of celebrities, like just an example from the other side of the realm where you have Leonardo DiCaprio. He only likes dating 20-year-olds and stuff like that. So it's just like a look or a status, what I'm saying, symbol, and nothing really deep on a deep level. You know what I'm saying? You really not having a relationship from a deep, you're not really having a deep connection. But yeah, it's weird out here when it comes. And the reason why it's like a big problem is because, what I'm saying, normal, ordinary people who don't have the finances or they don't have the power or the celebrity or whatever are really focused and following behind these people who are in this. Really, it's a small circle. When you think about the celebrity circle, it's really a small circle from whatever level you want to look at it from. The top end, high end celebrities to the low end celebrities. That really is a small circle when it relates to the normal, ordinary population of the world. But I'm about to play this clip right here, and we're going to keep it moving.
In a world where everyone is looking to take from a man, think about it. The dates, you expect a man to pay for the date. He has responsibilities. You expect him to take care of you. Be the type of woman that is also seeking what that man needs before he has to express it. So my mom has always said to me, find 5 different ways that you can bring value to that man's life, that if you were to leave, the world would come tumbling down.
And it ain't cooking and cleaning.
It is not cooking and cleaning, although sometimes that may be one. Like if that is his love language, wants that act of service, he wants to feel loved in that way. It might be massages. It might be listening to his business ideas. It might be giving him solutions to business ideas. It might be learning a different language so that you can connect him with more people to expand his territory. It might be opportunities for him to get more opportunities.
Yeah, and I think most entrepreneur men who are growing, you're always in a growing, developing, creating mindset. So having a woman with that type of characteristics is a blessing.
Yes, having a woman that can talk to the billionaire or the banker is a completely different level, right? And so if you are working on yourself enough to where you can bring value to have those conversations to connect your man, because us also as women, we get different opportunities than men do. So you can, in a professional way, build new relationships inside of networking, and then also alley-oop that relationship to your partner for them to grow.
There's a couple of things with this clip. Overall, I agree with the clip about, your partner adding to your life and reciprocating the same things that you are giving to them. I think that's a problem when it comes to a lot of the relationships and partnerships today. One of the reasons because what I just mentioned about people following behind this trend of these celebrities or whatever, but also one of the things about this clip is everybody isn't meant to be an entrepreneur. Everybody isn't meant to be a celebrity. It's like we so caught up with social media and the things that go on with social media. Everybody thinks that they have to be popular or a celebrity or entrepreneur or this and that or whatever. People just don't want to be themselves. They don't want to be quote unquote normal. And I know that's a broad term, but people just don't want to be normal. everybody is chasing to be viral or to be popular or to be the next thing, or, you know what I'm saying, the next star, or have that 15 minutes of fame or whatever. Before social media, I remember it was just the only thing you heard about was 15 minutes of fame. But now today with social media, everybody's trying to go viral, 15 minutes of fame, be a celebrity, be an entrepreneur, all this other stuff. I think the ultimate message from this video this clip should be, is just being able to be an asset for your partner, whatever that may be. You know, for healing purposes, to be able to grow, to evolve as a person, to learn new things, you know what I'm saying, to connect deeper, to have deeper intimacy, to understand love better, to understand empathy better, to understand sympathy better, to understand, you know what I'm saying, all the actual important things of life. And, you know, I think, you know, we hear a lot of times, you know, people on social media talk about being intentional in relationships, being intentional. But I don't think they really hidden the surface of what being intentional in a relationship is. You know, you mostly hear people talk about being intentional in a relationship is being intentional about a date, being intentional about marrying a person, being intentional about, you know what I'm saying, being with only one person, being intentional about being committed. And yeah, that's cool or whatever, but that really is surface level stuff. What about being intentional about, you know what I'm saying, what your triggers are as an individual? Being intentional about knowing what your trauma is. Being intentional about your healing journey. Being intentional about growing. Being intentional about understanding your feelings and emotions. You know, we hear so much about being intentional about what somebody else is doing, but it's never about being intentional of what you need to do for yourself. Because one thing that I have learned is being intentional about your individual self, your individual life, your individual journey is being intentional about growing, being intentional about healing, being intentional about understanding yourself will make a relationship and a partnership better. You'll be able to know who is right and wrong for you, how far you can go with somebody, if this person has the best intentions for you based off of the intentions you have for yourself. We are focused on the wrong intentions. Being intentional about courting somebody or dating somebody and all that other stuff should be the last thing that we are concerned about. Being intentional about the things that you need to do for yourself should be the focus first. And those things will create an environment for you to not be so worried about the intentions of what somebody else has for you, because it will be a foregone conclusion. It will be easy. But so many people are so focused about, you know what I'm saying, what intentions does this person have for me? What about the intentions you have for yourself? The intentions you have for yourself will eliminate all the work, all the energy that you're putting into what this person has for you. It just will. I mean, I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And this is something, well, I do get it. I apologize for saying that. I do get it. Because I was once in a position where before I started going to therapy, and even in the early times of my therapy, I was still just focused on what somebody is going to give me, what somebody is going to do to me and all that other stuff. But once I started focusing on the intentions for myself how, you know what I'm saying, my emotions, my feelings, my healing journey, how I was going to grow. Then all that other stuff was secondary. It was easy at that point. You know what I'm saying? Actually, the desires that I had for the people who had the bad intentions for me went away. You know what I'm saying? It was easy for me to not have those desires to be around those people who had bad intentions for me, because I already knew the intention for myself in my life. You know, because just based off of the clips that I've been playing so far, you know, and you know how things are on social media, the conversations, a lot of people have intentions and, excuse me, burp number 6 or 7, I don't remember. Excuse me, 7, 8, I don't know. There's a lot of people out here who are people pleasers. They do things, you know what I'm saying, as a strategy. You know what I'm saying? They do things, they're nice because they want to get something out of you. You know what I'm saying? Kindness is a strategy for these people who have bad intentions for you. You know, that's just an example. You just got to be more focused on the intentions for your life and for yourself, as opposed to what somebody else is doing to you, you know? It's a quote that I came across a couple of days ago. It's from Eckhart Tolle. And it says, most humans are never fully present in the now because unconsciously they believe that the next moment must be more important than this one. But then you miss your whole life, which is never not now. And that speaks volumes. You know, everybody is always focused on what they can get, what's the next move, what can they do or get or show to the world or to somebody else to make themselves look good, as opposed to just focusing on what's happening right now and what they are in control of right now. But I'm going to move on to the next clip.
One of the greatest crimes perpetuated against black men specifically is the level to which their humanity and their hearts have been devalued, diminished, and dehumanized, and that they have become doing machines. The greatest value a black man has, in many instances, is what he can do for somebody. Right. And how he can do it, and how much he can do it, and how much he earns doing it. I mean, I hear it and see it among young people in the relationships. You know, oh, you gonna get my nails done, and you gonna do this, and you gonna do that. Right. You know, they've been demeaned and devalued and dehearted, right, to the point where they value themselves based on what they can do. Fix it, get it, make it happen. And no place have I seen in our world does anybody tell black men how to be with themselves, how to be true to themselves, how to be with their feelings, how to be with their heart, you know? And it's criminal. So what happens is then they begin to do the things that are expected of them, and that's how they're evaluated. And then if they can't do that anymore, whether it's the job or pay the mortgage or whatever, then they're just cast off like socks in the corner.
Right. Right.
One of the greatest kryptonites for a man in general, black men specifically, is the feeling, the belief, the treatment that he is somehow inadequate. And when you devalue a man, he's going to feel inadequate. When you dehumanize him, when you deheart him, so then where does he go with that?
Right.
He's inadequate, and he doesn't serve a purpose because he can't do what you need him to do to make you feel better about yourself.
What's the purpose? What's the point?
What's the point? And that's why we have these incredible rises in suicide. Where in the world do we see them lifted, honored, I don't want to say respected. And here's what I hear in the back of my mind. So let me just go ahead and deal with it. Black women saying, well, look what they do. And look how they are. And look what they do, you know. And we unwittingly participate in the emasculation, the dehumanization, the devaluation, and the disheartening of black men because they didn't do it the way we wanted them to do it. Mothers, wives, girlfriends, sisters.
It's extremely difficult to be a black man in this society, in this world. And I'm not trying to make it seem like it's not the same for a black woman, because it definitely is. I understand that. But from a black man's perspective, it's definitely difficult to be a black man in America. That's where I can speak from. Because we always feeling like we're being tested. We always feel like we're being evaluated. We're always feeling as though that, you know what I'm saying, we're under the microscope. And it definitely hurts, and it's difficult when it mostly comes from our environment, and our environment being, well, part of that environment being our black women. And we mostly feeling that when we are in relationships or partnerships with black women. And I'm going to say relationships and partnerships because we feel it from our black mothers. We feel it from our black sisters. We feel it from black women outside of us, you know what I'm saying, outside of a close-knit relationship. We feel it from, you know what I'm saying, seeing it on social media and stuff like that. But then getting into a closer connection with is being our black mothers, our black sisters, our black women that we are in partnerships or whatever type of relationship you want to call it with. And it's always like we feeling as though we have to produce, we have to be perfect. You know, we can't do anything wrong. We can't make no mistake. We can't make no misstep. We are continuously walking on eggshells. And I can only speak from a black man's point of view. I do understand that as a collective, black people as a collective in America and the world, I do understand that as well, that there are difficulties. There are, you know what I'm saying, roadblocks that we all have to face. But just speaking from a black man's point of view, black men, period, already have a struggle with dealing with the humanity of ourselves and just being a human in this world, whether it is suppressing our feelings and a man having to be masculine 24/7 and stuff like that. But as a black man, it is rough. It is rough. I don't know what else I could say to make it, you know, cut deeper than what it is. You know, I'm honestly trying to find a way for it to resonate more with on the show at this particular moment for black women to understand. I know there are some black women who do understand that, and I salute you. But there is another section of black women that don't understand it. And they look at it like how I mentioned previously as a competition or measuring one's experience against each other. And that shouldn't be the case. But it is definitely real that there is a struggle for black men. And as Ayanla mentioned in this clip, that from 2020, since the pandemic started, the rise of black male suicides has risen tremendously. And I get it. I definitely get it. But we're going to move on to this next clip right here.
Now, obviously, I'm pro therapy, and the whole Brother mission exists to connect Black men with therapists. But it's possible to be pro therapy while also recognizing that therapy isn't the universal solution for everyone. Here's why.
Okay, so I'm reading a report that's saying suicide is the leading cause of death for men under the age of 50. And between the United States, Canada, and the UK, suicide is the single largest cause of death for men under the age of 50. Isn't this crazy? Typically, when folks hear stuff like this, their response is men should just open up more. If men talked more, less men would take their own lives, or more men need to go to therapy. However, the study is bearing out that most men who take their lives very often are in therapy.
Yep.
And a study in the UK found out that 92% of men who took their lives were actually seeking help
92%.
at the time that they died by suicide. Now, here's what's mind-blowing. Out of the 92%, 80% of them were deemed to be low risk to no risk of suicide. What is all this saying? What this is saying is we don't know how to read men. We don't know when men are hurting and when they're not, and when they're at risk or when they're self-destructing. Now, I've got nothing against therapy. I see a therapist every 2 weeks. Therapy is great. However, therapy is not the only answer and not the number one answer to self-destructing men. The solution for self-destructing men is also a part of the problem. See, most of these men are lonely. Most of these men have no friends. Most of these men are disconnected. So I'm going to say it. The number one thing that men need more than anything else is to be a part of a positive brotherhood.
And I'm going to stop the clip right there, but I'm going to continue it after I say this. And that is absolutely accurate. I've talked about this plenty of times on this podcast, using myself as an example. I've been going to therapy since I was 30 years old. I'm 42 right now. And all the stuff that was talked about in this clip so far is absolutely true. I've dealt with loneliness for the majority of my life. It started from childhood all the way up to now. You know what I'm saying? I've just finally come to grips with the fact that, or accepted the fact that, loneliness is a part of my life, but it isn't I'm trying to find the right way to say this. Is not it doesn't project, or it doesn't trying to find the right way to say this. It doesn't project my value or my worth. I am worthy, I am enough, but because of how society is, that my loneliness is a part of my experience of being a black male. For a long time, I didn't understand it. I just didn't understand it. I'm like, I'm a good-looking dude. I got a great personality. You know what I'm saying? I'm comfortable with myself. I understand who I am. From the surface level, those things, good looking, you know what I'm saying? Got a great personality, all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And from a deeper aspect, I'm very I want to say I'm very knowledgeable. I'm very eclectic. You know what I'm saying? But the black male experience usually leaves you alone a lot in your life. You know what I'm saying? Because it's always about producing or trying to prove your humanity or your worth to somebody else. I'm going to play the clip.
This reminds me of three things that I always say: men, black men.
And it's just not, I just thought of something. It's just not, you know what I'm saying, outside of the family aspect or, your romantic relationships. It's even within our collective of other black men. Like our brotherhood is not, doesn't have a good foundation. It's not a foundation that is strong enough to create an actual brotherhood of love. You know, I know that is kind of a taboo word to use when it comes to men, heterosexual straight men, but that actually what it is. You know what I'm saying? The foundation of love isn't strong enough to be healthy for a brotherhood.
In particular, we need, in addition to therapy, and one of those things is recognizing that making it look like we're okay isn't the way to go. So part of what he raised is that people aren't able to read black men properly. And while part of that is people not prioritizing understanding us and our communication and how we present, part of that is also on us because we've defined masculinity as suffering in silence.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. Although we, on the outside of the brotherhood or black men, there is a perception of we have to produce or we have to provide, or, you know, we are emotionless. We aren't totally humanized, but it's even within our own, like I said, the foundation of brotherhood isn't strong enough to produce love amongst each other.
Or not airing your concerns, suppressing everything, smiling, saying I'm good when you're not good.
Right.
So it's on us to kind of to make that not our norm anymore and normalize a new approach. And that ultimately goes back to how men respond to other men, but also how women respond to men when they do share deeply about what's going on. So that's a cultural thing that we have to address. Second is going to be decentering women. So oftentimes the assumption is that a straight man will obviously put all his time and attention into the women he's trying to sleep with or date. And that is a big part of why men are lonely, feeling symptoms of depression, because they're putting all their eggs in the basket of romantic situations. So singleness ends up feeling like hell. So while it's completely understood that people want to seek out.
And one of the things that I've found out and I've experienced since I've gotten older is, like he said, us black men, we put all our eggs in the basket of being in a relationship or a partnership or a family man or whatever, that we don't see anything outside of that. You know, we want to be portrayed as the good man or the good father or the good husband or whatever, but we aren't good friends. We aren't good brothers. We aren't good cousins. We aren't good family members. Because if we deviate outside of that, we're looked at funny from our black women, and we feel as though that isn't the proper image that we should be showing.
Partners,
we get criticized for that.
Can't be the totality of your life or be the only thing that brings you joy. And unfortunately, for a lot of men, the only moments of joy they feel are when a woman gives them the energy back that they're putting out.
Right. And I mean, I'm just going to be straight up. That is far between. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't happen often. Like I've talked about plenty of times, and even, you know what I'm saying, going back to the You and You podcast, the group podcast, when it was all the fellas or whatever, we talked about plenty of times how we don't receive compliments. We don't feel as though that the things that we give out is reciprocated and stuff like that. We feel like we have to be producing every minute of the day in order to get some semblance or some type of love from our partner, our family members, or whatever.
Lastly, I want to say that we need to emphasize deep friendships. So, in addition to decentering women as the end all be all of life, it's also going to be, what do your friendships look like? Because so often we'll spend 10, 15, 20 years around a certain guy who we say, that's my friend, that's my homeboy, that's my brother. But the conversation is very surface level.
Yep. Conversations are very surface level. It's only about sports, or we just getting together to drink, we getting together to smoke, or we just sitting around or whatever. We not having any type of constructive conversations. We not challenging each other. We not doing anything outside of the norm of what they tell us men should be doing together.
Or we have friendships of utility, which pretty much means that we connect around a shared interest.
Right.
Football, rap, whatever it may be. We're connecting based off of that. And when you remove that shared interest, there's
nothing left.
there. Or when you remove proximity, we're not in college anymore, so now we don't speak because we're not in the same dorm. We have to work at building more substantive relationships so that we have a support system.
And I'm the type of person that, you know what I'm saying, if I'm not feeling, you know what I'm saying, coming to hang out just so we can drink, or coming to hang out so we can watch sports, or because we older now and certain people in the group aren't healthy, physically healthy, they can't play sports no more, then I'd just rather just stay at home, you know what I'm saying? Or I'd just rather go out by myself. So that's where it becomes where you putting all your eggs in one basket, where everything is just doing what you need to do to satisfy the woman that you're in a relationship or a partnership with. You know what I'm saying? A lot of black men don't want to do anything outside of what is quote unquote cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to meditate. I like to, you know what I'm saying, read or whatever. It's difficult for me to find some other dudes that like to read, and we can have a book club, or we can go meditate, or we can just, you know what I'm saying, do something differently than we was doing when we was younger. There's no evolution to these friendships. You know what I'm saying? But that's also speaking to the fact that there's no evolution to the individuals or the collective of the group. You know what I'm saying? You have one or two people who are looked at as the outcasts, and that usually aren't invited to certain events anymore or whatever, because they got different interests, or they put more focus into these different interests now or whatever. Or they looked at as you trying to be better than them and all that other good stuff or bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's a struggle for a person, particularly in my position, because I like to, you know, it ain't even I like to, just the person I am. I have been evolving from the things that I used to do as a young 20-year-old or early 30-year-old, going to the clubs, hanging out, partying, just hanging out to drink, watch sports and stuff like that. I'm into different things, and trying to share those things with the people who are supposed to be your friends and supposed to be the people who care about you and love you. They just blow it off and look at it like you're trying to be better than them and stuff like that. It's a difficult situation. And then, you know, being older and trying to find new friends or whatever, that's hard pressed, especially if you're a single man and you also want to have a family at some point and you want to be married or whatever. So it's like you trying to figure out which direction or which road you want to go down, because, you know, you trying to satisfy these new things that you have interest in, but you also want to evolve your life in a certain way.
And then recognize also that there are ways to feel a level of intimacy, not necessarily sexual intimacy, but emotional or relational intimacy outside.
And just him mentioning that, a lot of times people don't understand that intimacy isn't just sexual. You know what I'm saying? Intimacy is about connecting on a deeper level with the people that you have relationships with.
Out of romantic relationships that can gratify you and through your friendships and platonic relationships too.
Right.
And I'll close with this. It's true, I'll say from my experience, many men come into therapy thinking they need to improve their dating life or that a relationship or more activity with women is what they need. And that's because they vaguely understand that they want intimacy, need intimacy. They wouldn't say it that way, but they think the only way to achieve that is through sex. When in reality, intimacy is not inherently sexual, and it can be achieved through a variety of other platonic relationships.
Right.
In fact, if you're pro-monogamy, you're only going to have one partner per se, but then you have all these other relationships
Exactly.
that you could and should be investing in.
And that's one of the most difficult things, like the understanding of relationships. And that's why I try to point that out a lot on the podcast, that you have relationships with everybody. Relationships aren't just solely based on a romantic relationship. A relationship is with everybody that you encounter through your daily life. Like I always say, you meeting somebody on the street, you driving on the road, you have a relationship with that person. Y'all relating in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Whether you got some road rage or you cussing that person out or whatever, the people that you work with at your job, that's a relationship. You know what I'm saying? The people that you encounter on a you know what I'm saying, a business deal, that's a relationship. Your neighbors, that's a relationship. You know what I'm saying? There's different levels to relationship. But we don't understand words, the meaning of words, the levels of words or whatever. And it's difficult. Like I find it difficult to be a black man and dealing with relationships. And one of the things that I've never mentioned on this podcast, I never even mentioned it in therapy, and just speaking to, you know, the past couple of clips that I've played or whatever, suicide for black men is real. And I have had suicidal thoughts, particularly before I started going to therapy and in the early parts of when I was going to therapy. And one of the previous clips, this actual clip right here, when they was talking about how majority of the black men who committed suicide, they were actually seeking help or were in therapy. That's when I had some of my most suicidal thoughts, is when I was starting off therapy early on, because for one, it was difficult to face a lot of the things that, you know what I'm saying, I was struggling with. And then I was questioning a lot of the things that I was going through. One of the reasons why I never mentioned my suicidal thoughts on the show and even in therapy or whatever, because I was embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a man's man, and you know, I definitely looked at it like having suicidal thoughts was being weak. But I had those thoughts. I had thoughts of suicide because I felt as though I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't producing, or the people around me didn't like me, or you know what I'm saying, people wasn't, you know what I'm saying, people wasn't reciprocating the same things that I was giving them, or you know, I was lonely. I was having suicidal thoughts. People that I thought was my friends, romantic relationships that I was in, you know what I'm saying, wasn't reciprocating the same thing, or wasn't there for me, or was using things against me when I was, you know, being vulnerable and stuff like that. You know, I had those suicidal thoughts. One of the reasons why I feel comfortable even sharing it now is because, I mean, at this point, I guess I'm not embarrassed, or I guess I just don't care. But, you know what I'm saying, it is real. You know, I have had suicidal thoughts. in the past. And it is definitely real to feel as though that you aren't good enough for people, or, you know what I'm saying, people feeling as though that you aren't good enough because you are changing or you are evolving or you want something different. It's a struggle as a black man. But I'm going to end it right here off of this clip right here. I had more stuff to share on this episode, but I feel like this is the perfect time to end it, and I'll continue it back up on the next episode. I'm back. I appreciate everybody, supporting the YouTube page, all the new subscribers. I'm building slowly but surely, and I'm going to keep putting content out there as long as I'm able to do that. Make sure you like, share, download, all that good stuff, support. Tasteful Words, the poetry series, Taste Reviews, Drink Edition, and the Taste to Consider podcast. And, I'm going to keep pushing and putting out content. I got a lot of ideas. Like I said, I'm working on my book. So we'll see when that is complete, how far it goes or whatever. But, I'm intentional about working on these things, and I appreciate everybody, you know what I'm saying? All the support. Just keep, supporting me further, do y'all thing, you know what I'm saying? However y'all going to support me. I appreciate anything that's given. I'm your host, Derek Silver. This is Taste to Consider podcast, and I am out.